All right, this is LEGO set 10185 Green Grocer. This set came out on March 1st, 2008 for $150 in the US and was available until 2010. This set was always one of my favorite modular buildings when I grew up building LEGO when I was a kid. Unfortunately, I missed out on it like many of us did. The first ever modular that I got was the Palace Cinema back in 2013, but the oldest modular that I bought when they were still selling it was the Grand Emporium, which came out in 2010. So this means a lot to me because I'd always wanted this modular and I was never able to get it. So what I did is I pieced together this entire building with all new parts or parts that were slightly used. So all of the parts in this building right now are either brand new parts or like new parts. I didn't even go for parts that were moderately used because I wanted to make the value of this building as high as possible. And I wanted to have something clean to bring into my LEGO city and try to replicate as if it was pieces out of a box. And the reason why I didn't buy this new is because on the aftermarket, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, the prices for this new are very, very, very expensive. The prices for this used is also very expensive. In fact, buying this used, it's very difficult to find this used in a condition like this for under $1,000. Obviously, the economical option is to piece it together. This is going in the older portion of Brickport. I have a slot all ready to go for it. I've been waiting to do this review for quite some time. If you guys have been around my YouTube channel for a little while now, you'll see that I posted an original update when it was just a few pieces down on the base plate. That is because from then until now, it has been crazy and I didn't unfortunately have the time to go through every single update. And also there was some craziness with trying to get some of the pieces, especially some of the sand green pieces. And I also started building this right before the sand green pieces became available again, so I'll share that story. But for now, let me just have you guys take in this building here. This has over 2,000 parts in it, and I pieced together everything identically except for the minifigures. I didn't buy any of the minifigure parts because I could care less about the minifigures. I just wanted the building. Otherwise, it is a one-to-one identical copy of what you would buy from the set. I even bought two separate 16 by 32 green base plates instead of using a single 32 by 32 green base plate because, I was like, you know what? I want to make this identical. Like I said, every single piece has to be exact. So it was a lot of fun putting it together. It's really nice that LEGO has the instructions on the lego.com website so that you can just literally get all the pieces together. I did see that there was a few mistakes with the online instructions, so maybe that's something that they could fix in the future, but I think it's really nice that LEGO even offers that to begin with. If you're not prepared, I think it'll be difficult. I was somewhat prepared. I had a lot of the parts in my own Bricklink store. I had a lot of the parts in my own inventory, and I had to think of some creative ways to get the sand green pieces. Specifically, if you have put together this Green Grocer before, you would know that it's the 1x2 sand green profile bricks and the 1x8 sand green bricks here. I started putting this together back in, I believe, September 2025. And that's right around the time where I posted my original video that's on this YouTube channel. At that point, I was concerned with how do I get these parts because LEGO hadn't made them in I know the sand green 1x2 profile bricks LEGO hadn't made for 14 years at that point. And I believe the 1x8 bricks, the last time they were in a set may have been this set, especially in the quantity that you needed them in, because both the 1x8 bricks and the 1x2 profile bricks here, there are a ton of them in this building. Now, why is this important? Because it just so happened that LEGO Shopping Street, which would have come out just 3 months in the future, contain the sand green profile bricks and the sand green 1x8 bricks. Now, LEGO hadn't made these pieces, like I said, for a decade and a half. So I knew in the back of my head that at any moment LEGO could bring back these pieces because they still make 1x8 bricks, they still make profile bricks, and they still make the sand green color. So what's preventing them from doing this? Little did I know that if I would have just waited 3 months, I would have been able to part out Shopping Street and I would have had basically all the pieces that I need for this. But I didn't know that at the time. So what I did is, to get the sand green profile bricks here, I didn't want to go onto Bricklink and just buy the pieces new or buy them slightly used. I would have spent way too much money. So what I did is I went to eBay and I bought a few of the Diagon Alley sets, the Harry Potter Diagon Alley sets from 2011 in like new condition. So collectors that had them, that built once, put it on a shelf, didn't really touch it, that type of thing. I got very good deals on both of those. I think I had to order like 1 or 2 off of Bricklink, but other than that, it basically was able to make me fulfill the need that I had for the sand green 1x2 profile brick. And what I was able to then do is take all of the remaining pieces that I got from the Diagon Alley and I was able to sell them on my Bricklink store. And I've sold like 80% of the parts already from the Diagon Alley sets. And I have made back all of my money on both purchases of Diagon Alley. So I was able to get all of these sand green 1x2 profile bricks basically at no cost to me, which is perfect. So that was kind of my smart way of doing it. The other thing that I did for the 1x8 bricks is I bought on eBay a slightly more used than I would have liked, but it was still in pretty good, like new condition, Boba Fett's Slave 1 ship. There was a Slave 1 ship back in, I believe, was it 2011 or 2010 that came with 4 1x8 sand green bricks. I bought one of those sets to try to add on some 1x8 sand green bricks to this. I kind of broke even on that one. I sold the parts on my Bricklink store for that one. I was still at a need for a lot more sand green 1x8 bricks because I tried to do what I did for those 1x2 profile sand green bricks, but it just wasn't working out as well for these 1x8s because it's so tricky. So what I did is I ordered from a seller. I kind of was like, you know what, let me just bite the bullet. I'll buy the 1x8 bricks for like $4 a piece, like new on Bricklink. And I bought them from a seller that is a US military member overseas. I think they were in the Netherlands. So I placed the order, and because they're overseas, the shipping takes a while. It was shipped with the post office, but unfortunately, the package never came. And it was like $150 worth of these sand green 1x8 bricks. And it was pretty much everything that I needed to finish the building, and they just didn't arrive. I filed a claim with the post office. The seller over in Europe did the same thing, and they just never showed up. And the post office lost it, and I ended up getting back all of my money because the insurance claim came through. But that was about a 3-month ordeal. And believe it or not, it was just enough time to where the Shopping Street had come out and the prices of 1x8 sand green bricks on Bricklink absolutely plummeted in price. So I was able back a few months ago to get the remaining sand green 1x8 bricks that I needed to complete this entire building, and it was done affordably. So I was able to kind of do the best of both worlds. Because things were taking so long, it kind of inevitably waited to the point where I was able to get the sand green bricks at a very good price. And for the 1x2 sand green profile bricks, I was able to get those basically at no cost because I was able to part out a couple Diagon Alley sets. So that is my story with this building with the sand green pieces. It is not easy. Now, if you were to build it in 2026, it is way easier to build. In fact, I would say this year is probably one of the easiest years ever to build this set from spare parts, because you can buy Shopping Street and put together a lot of this set. You're gonna come across a few parts that are pretty rare. For instance, they don't make flowers like this anymore. I had a bunch of flowers like this in my Bricklink store, so I could just take them out because I was a product of when LEGO made flowers like this. And I actually didn't realize that LEGO stopped making the flowers off of the sprue like that, or the actual flower base here, like it's shown there in green, but they don't make it anymore, which is crazy. The other thing that is pretty expensive, let me actually zoom in for this here, is the printed tiles, these 1x4 printed tiles. I bought these new off of Bricklink for $9.99 a piece. So just these 3 tiles alone are $30 worth of Lego. Probably one of the most expensive pieces, honestly, in this entire set right now, but it is one of the first things that you see when you look at this building, and I wanted to make sure that it was, again, put together perfectly, and I was grateful enough that there was a seller that had some. But all in all, piecing this together, even with the whole fiasco with the sand green bricks and even these $10 a piece tiles, is way more economical than buying this set brand new, or buying this set even used, or even buying it with a damaged box or something like that. So this is definitely the route to go. All right, I think enough has been said about my experience piecing this together. I think it's time to actually do a review. So again, I don't have the minifigures, but I do have everything else, so let's get to it. One of the things that it comes with here is this baby stroller. I think it's a pretty interesting looking build. Just because I ordered everything except the minifigure parts, I was able to build this. So honestly, I think it stands the test of time. It actually reminds me of the one that you get from Assembly Square. We've got 3 portions to the building. We've got the first story, we've got the second story, and we've got the third story. The third story does have that roof on top here that you build extra, so there's technically like 4 layers to the onion here. I love actually the roof details, and I think this actually stands the test of time for 2008. Obviously, if you look at the modulars that are made now, you can tell that this looks very blocky. When I was putting it together, I could just tell how blocky it was, but it's so nostalgic for me. And I think, like I said, it stands the test of time that the details are good enough. Like, I think the curvy details up here at the top of the windows that kind of jut out looks very nice. It looks very tight, I think, especially for 2008. And I actually really like the black skeleton feet that they used up here for the roof detail. I think it's actually a really cool looking roof. And they use the skeleton feet with minifigure utensil hammer. It's a cool use of parts. And then they also use up here a little bit of these Native American feather parts in dark bluish gray, which I've seen used as scissors as well in the past. One of the things that I also loved about this modular was the fact that right in the front you had all of these fruits and vegetables. I think this just looked so cool. The set comes with 3 of these green apples, some of these red and green cherries, and then we've got here some carrots through the window and some bananas through the window, and there's also, I believe, a couple croissants in one of the buckets there. Let me actually take off the entire rest of the building so we can just look at the bottom story. They don't really have any sort of clutch power. It's just using this groove pattern of having a little bit of this side being taller than the other so that it can kind of find its way in place, which is different than how they do things now. What that does cause, though, is a little bit of sliding, and it doesn't make the building as structurally sound as if you were to literally make it with, you know, the studs with the tiles. As you can see, you've got the fridge freezer right here with a whole bunch of what looks like drinks in there. And then you've got what looks like some other items here at the cashier desk. And then I also love the design on the floor here. Really cool tile pattern. And we've also got here the carrots, the croissant, and the bananas that you could see out the window. But other than that, it's pretty plain. I actually think it's a pretty nice looking interior given the fact that modulars during this time, and even modulars later on like the Palace Cinema, were not tiled. This one actually is. Moving over this way, there's this checkered dark tan and tan tile pattern here with this whole mail area here, which is really cool off to the right. And there's also a door here leading up to the stairwell that goes up to the other floors. And this is a different angle here. You can see it's kind of cool how it's all open air. I think that's actually a really cool thing. I think it reminds me of the detective's office. That set was open air as well. And then coming back on the back side here, You've got where it goes out. Few little details here. You've got a few little leaf pieces on the side here, maybe representing some like moss that's growing up on the side of the building, along with a few little gadgets here, a few little minifigure utensils here in the crate. And then we've got some barrels here with a random 1x4 black tile that kind of just gets sat in there. And then this is another angle from this side here. And that pretty much wraps up the first story. So as you can see, other than for that just one stud there, it's all tiled, and it's the different heights that will make this kind of find its way in place. There's no clicking action. It just kind of finds its way in place here. And this is the second story. So as you can see here, we've got two balconies, which use the same roof detail as I showed you before. And it's got that flower that they don't make anymore. I really like the curtains that you build through these windows. I think that looks really neat. And on this side, this is where that building has a little jut out with the windows here. That's where it really starts to take shape, other than the base that you see there on the first story of the build. Inside, it's, well, very plain. Not a whole lot going on. It's a lot of open space for you to put your own stuff in. We've got a fireplace here, which is pretty neat. I don't think it's anything special. And then we also have a little cat here that is underneath the staircase there. That cat is rare and expensive as well. It kind of reminds me of these 1x4 printed tiles. It's one of those situations, kind of rare and expensive, but nonetheless a cool part of the set. We've got that stairwell going up there, which uses just the basic one-part stairwell piece, as you can see. And the railing from the bottom story here uses some light bluish gray cups as part of the railing detail. Pretty neat there. Otherwise, there is a window that opens right here, which can take you out to the back stairwell, which I'm going to show you right now as I flip the building around. This is a really cool part of the set. So this kind of just comes down because when you put this on, when you put the second story on a table, it's going to flatten. So whenever you put it back on, you just have to move it back out. But this is the stairwell that starts to take shape as you put on the second story. It is kind of a pain to put together a little bit. You have to get some things pretty exact here. It uses a very liberal choice of pieces here. We've got this part here, which I've seen used in like fishing sets. And we've got some of these arms here that have some black bars clipped onto them, along with some of these ladder pieces. And that is what makes the stairwell. So I guess how this works is you would, I guess, come out the window in an emergency, I guess, and, you know, try to find your way out here. But other than that, pretty plain. But as you can see, you've got a window there and the three windows here. And I think the other thing that you can see is the difference in sand green. It wasn't a huge issue, but as you can see, getting some of these sand green parts, most of the new sand green parts are not a perfect match to some of the other sand green parts. LEGO has a problem over the years of having color consistency, and I think that really shows itself with this. I think the camera actually makes it look worse than it actually is in person, but definitely the sand green is a little bit of a variance here. Moving on to the third story, it is not as tall as the second story. So as you can see, the second story is a bit taller, but what this does employ is the use of having these roof elements stick out higher, which adds to the overall height of this third story. In general, this modular is a very tall modular. In fact, as I was building this, I was kind of almost in shock at how tall this was. Very big and tall and blocky and rectangular. In fact, right around the same time, I was building the boutique hotel, and even though that does employ a lot of sand green, just like this set does, this set is just a polar opposite in how it's built, with it being blocky and tall, and that is very curvy and small. In this story, there's a little bit more going on. We've got the basic stairwell here, which is very plain. And we've got one of these really cool radiator builds here. I really like those radiator builds. I think it looks really neat. We've also got a cool looking grandfather clock here. So between the clock, the radiator, and this little, I guess it's supposed to be like a rug detail here, definitely a much cooler looking story than the one before is supposed to be. I think both of these are supposed to be living quarters, apartments, that type of thing. And then on this side here, like I said before, it is just a basic stair piece that is one part connected with a 2x6 plate there. And the same detailed railing assembly here is the exact same as down there, except this actually makes it a little bit bigger. So there's two sections instead of just one. And this is what the set looks like from the back. So you can see kind of how this assembly is made up here. And you have a little bit of space there to, I guess, put something if you wanted to with it jutting out like that. And on the back side here, as you can see, more of the sand green 1x8 brick mismatch in color scheme a little bit. And we also have some more of the stairwell going up. Uses the same sort of building technique here as below, and it's the same thing as before. This window can open up, and that is the safety aspect to this safety stairwell on the side of the building. Now it's starting to look really cool with it built up with these 3 stories. I think actually the most satisfying part to this building when you're building it is putting on the roof. So the roof has these pieces that stick out, and you have to feed it through this light bluish gray roof detail pattern above the windows. So it almost kind of finds its way in a very satisfying way, and it just kind of clicks so perfect in place. And because there's no studs to worry about snapping anything in, it all just kind of finds its groove. So this is the roof. It's got more of these flowers that they don't make anymore. It's got this really nice balcony with a grill here, and 2 chairs and umbrella and a place to sit and I guess eat, that type of thing. And really the only place to do anything outside, it seems, is this balcony area here. This section is just plain roof, but I think it does look very cool. And also here we've got some roof up here. The door right here opens, and that leads you to the stairwell that I showed you in there. That stairwell in there meets directly to this door. So basically where that stairwell goes is out here to this balcony. And last but not least, there's also this chimney detail here on the left side of the roof. And that pretty much does it for a review of the Green Grocer set. This was way too many months in the making, between not getting all the pieces that I needed or not getting the sand green pieces in time. This was quite the ordeal, but I am so happy to finally say that it's done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this inside of Brickport. And what this is going to take in order to get this building to fit inside of the city is to make it my own, which unfortunately requires me to take off some of these 1x6 light bluish gray tiles from the front here, along with those 2 1x1 light bluish gray tiles on either side. This is how I snap the buildings into my city. And just like that, it is now ready to be placed inside of Brickport. It should fit like a glove. Right here, I've got the spot. Right here, 32 studs by 32 studs, waiting for it right there. As soon as it gets put in here, this entire back strip is going to be filled 100% with buildings, which is going to look so cool. I've never had that before. The entire time that I've been building Brickport, there's always been holes and pockets missing. So I've been waiting for this for such a long time, and I am finally at the point where I can do this. So let's get it in. All right, and that is with the Green Grocer inside of Brickport here in the older portion. I have never seen the city before with the entire back row filled, let alone any place in the city with modulars filled in like this before. A little emotional. I've been building this for so long, and for it to finally get like this in late July 2026, It's quite something special. So anyway, if you're new here, thank you so much for sticking around. And if you're an existing subscriber, thanks so much for your continued support. I'll have more update videos of the city of Brickport in the future. But until then, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.